Hi, I'm Rose, and this is the Sovereign Soul, where I talk about soul freedom within this body, in this life, and without. So, when we leave this body, the purpose of this being the theme of this channel is really because I feel that it's the theme of every single thing in my life's purpose, where I've been, where I've come from, what I've experienced. If I have to give a reason for what I've experienced, everything would come down to the answer of soul sovereignty. And I do get to stages where I think, yeah, man, I think I totally get it. And then I think I know nothing all over again. I have been on a personal growth journey my entire life, and I experienced the beginning of a spiritual awakening at the end of 2016. And everybody goes through this differently. I've come to understand that there is no linear path to healing, which I think anybody who's on a healing journey would mostly understand, depending on where they're at on that journey. And everybody will go through their experiences uniquely, yet also a lot of people will have similarities, and perhaps that way people will fall into different, if you want to call it, categories and groups in how they will go through something. People often talk about spiritual awakening as the dark night of the soul. That is not my experience at all. I feel like my whole life building up to it was a dark night of the soul. And I'm not like trying to be dramatic in that, or it's just a fact. Life was hard. I fucking struggled all the time. I was always working on myself, and I started consciously doing that probably 17 years before the awakening. Like, that was my life. Personal growth, personal growth, personal growth. So when I had this awakening, when the awakening began, I'd already been meditating daily for nearly a year. I had been practicing energy healing. So I'd learned how to do it for myself for nearly a year. And I was practicing daily on loads of other people. I I understood um, about personal responsibility and taking responsibility for myself. So when I went through the process, I didn't feel like it was hell on earth. I actually felt like it was the heavens opening to me. Almost all these things that I felt like I knew, like life was this constant dangling carrots. And when the awakening began, it was like, oh, I can finally catch the carrot. Like, I've caught the carrot. And that in itself has been a wonderful process for me personally. It hasn't necessarily, it's not like it's been a walk in the park, but my life before that was never a walk in the park anyway. So the process that I've been through has definitely brought out what I feel has become the best of me. And I say that particularly with relation to my children. I'm a mom, a single mom of 4 kids. And from the time that I started awakening, I was able to learn to take more responsibility for myself, be a better example. I really grew in emotional intelligence. So these natural um, progressions of awakening in my own understanding of myself, you get understanding of the world and the people around you. I've been an intuitive energy healer for nearly 10 years, and you see the soul reveals itself to you. Well, that is the line of work that I do. People's souls communicate with me, and so you you've got a deeper insight into what you see and how you see it, the patterns and how they play out. That's what awakening has given me. It's made me understand myself, my ego, and therefore I can see the ego of others, but I can also see the full potential of others. Um, and so I can't say that spiritual awakening has felt like one big fat dark night of the soul for me, because I do think it's brought out the best in me. My children have definitely benefited from the person that I have become, as opposed to the person I was prior to that awakening. I would call myself switched on. It's why I think I was always a searcher, and why um, I believe that, you constantly trying to better yourself, why I was so hooked on personal growth. But the world changed significantly after the awakening began. But the awakening has been a process. And for me, I've seen it more as lessons that I've learned along the way, as opposed to, I don't know, roadblocks of things like you can't sleep, or there's ringing in your ear, or you crying, or you might lose touch with people, you get better boundaries. So you say so your world is changing around you. You don't relate to the world in the same way when you have an awakening. But for me, I didn't feel that those things were awful, or I got used to them and just saw them as positive things, as opposed to feeling like I was totally overwhelmed by the situation of still needing to operate as a normal human being in normal life, with having an energy healing practice and mentoring, coaching other people, as well as being a full-time mom, as well as running a household on my own. And and then of course you still have to take care of yourself while you're going through your processes. Now that, to me, funny enough, was not a dark night of the soul at all. In fact, it was welcome, because I had such a deeper understanding. It's like you got these guides or angels, whatever you want to call it, whispering in your ear to tell you, hey, just surrender, or this is how you need to deal with that, or just have faith in this. And therefore the process was quite different. So I would put myself in a different category to people who go through this process and feel that it's a dark night of the soul and a live in hell. I was very open to seeing myself. I was very open to understanding my shit. I still am. As opposed to being in a space of denial. Oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to take responsibility for that. In fact, I just wanted to take responsibility for everything. Truth is like, that's all I want. I'd rather see the ugly truth so I can make conscious choices to be different, to choose differently. That's in my world and in the world around me. And therefore, I would say that I embraced all the different things that it showed me through the awakening process. And in a sense, I suppose I've gone through it like a trooper, and I still think life hasn't given me challenges, because there's loads of other challenges that still show up, and still like stupid. I say stupid choices. I don't know. I don't believe in mistakes, but choices where you look back and I think, holy fuck, like why? Why would you do that to yourself? Because I didn't know better at that point. So life is still life. I'm still human and dealing with human stuff. I just deal with it totally differently to how I dealt with it prior to the awakening, and then even the first couple of years of the awakening. It's been a process to become who I choose to be and how I choose to deal with things, as opposed to just blindly going through life. So maybe you're somebody who fits into that category more so than the the other of dark night of the soul. Everything is a nightmare, because I had definitely have felt that it was like I was waking up from the nightmare when I had the awakening.